Uh-oh, we're live. We're live. I don't even know. We gotta wait for some people to join Smog. Is it dead skin? Oh god, 3 people already. We haven't even done anything yet. I know, we haven't even done anything yet. As long as I can reach as long as I can reach the computer, that's all that matters, fat boy. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna give people some time. We always give people some time. Here we go. Chat is loading. Chat is loading and people are joining, and you are crushing me. Okay, there, I should be able to see everything now. Yo, who's early? Hi. Nice day today. Big boy. Oh, God. Oh, 10 people. They're really coming now, Smog. They're really coming now. They saw you. That's the problem. I told them I didn't tell anyone you were going to be on today. Hello, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. We're going to give people some time to join, the typical 5 minutes, so we can just do some nonchalant chanting, and I'll probably reposition Smog in a minute. That way he'll probably just go to sleep, to be honest. But he's a big, heavy boy, so. But hello. It's kind of not a nice day today here in Michigan. It's going to be warm, but it's going to be raining. Kind of a mess. Our nice, first warm day. I own one of those. By one of those, like Apple, Brad, do you mean a black throat monitor? Are you talking about Smog, or pretty open there? One of those. I want a bean feast. Oh, one of those. Dude, we're just crushing me. You're crushing me. You don't even want to look at me. Good morning. Gloomy here and up. Yeah, makes sense, Heidi. Oh, a Savannah. Yeah. Little different, but yeah. These are like the big boy. Gloomy here. Yeah, maybe it's gloomy all over. I don't know. It's gonna be warm at least, so that's a big deal. But like, even when the rain stops, like the clay and everything's really wet. So, oh, I know you're eyeing that pillow over there, aren't you? We're just gonna have you out for like 15, 20 minutes. Is that big of a deal? You have to lay down on the pillow. You can't just for just a little bit. You can't sit here. I mean, you'll lay down over there, but they like to see you. This is where Smog normally sleeps during the day. As he comes and climbs up on the couch here, and then he's got a blanket over there that he goes under, and uh, and he just sleeps. Unfortunately, because this is in my family room, like it's you just hear him snoring from the room away. Yeah, I don't know about YouTube notifications. It would be that is a black throat who takes over his bed. Well, half the bed because he starfishes out, but luckily his arms and legs are short. Yeah. Oh well, Smog is active. Trust me, but not when holding him like this. Also, too, his lights just came on less than an hour ago. That's why I kind of do these things in the morning. I can take advantage of them in their groggy state when they're too tired to resist. So he's still nice and cool. He hasn't warmed up yet, but soon my body heat will warm him up and he'll start to become more active. So yeah, I got a lot of cool stuff to go over actually, uh, and hopefully you guys got a lot of questions. As always, look at this shed. vacuum that up. These little beads, smog. A little armor proof. Yeah. But a lot of questions this month as well. I can't believe another month has gone by. It feels like I just did the last live stream, and then I looked, and it's been another 4 weeks. So here we are again to answer all the popular comments. Can you not lick the back of my neck? That's a little creepy. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, all the popular questions that I've been getting, and if you guys got other questions to give you guys some channel updates, you know the routine. Last Saturday of every month on the actual calendar for the month, we do a live stream where I compile most of the questions, common questions that get asked on my videos during the week or during the month, and then also gives you guys time to ask other questions maybe I missed. So I've got a lot of questions written down, um, which is really nice. Good morning, and it's been about 5 minutes, so we'll just give it a little bit more. I feel like when my monitor lizard licks me, I think of him as a cat. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're licking you to get a taste of you, to get your smell. Maybe they just want to, smell you and remember that you're a safe scent. Maybe they're getting ready to eat you. Mixture. You never really know. Sometimes these guys can be real nice. Sometimes your pet lizard could be an arsehole. So it's kind of all over the place. But guys, remember, if you can, like the stream. Maybe it'll get shared out to other people looking for live reptile videos this morning. Unfortunately, likes and comments are the only thing YouTube cares about anymore. So if you don't get likes on your video, that means, and you watched it, or you come and join a live stream and you don't leave a like, YouTube sees that as you don't like it. If you leave a dislike, YouTube sees you as you hated it. If you leave a like, YouTube sees it as good. There's no middle ground anymore with YouTube. So any video you guys watch, if you're trying to support a creator, you're like, that was a good video, leave a like for that creator, because otherwise that's a negative in the column where this guy watched it but he didn't like it. Well, if he doesn't like it, that means he hates it. You're right. And that, if he hates it, that means it's a bad video. You're right. Let's not tell anyone about it. Real messed up, to be honest, but oh well. Can you do a video of what parasites look like? Okay, great question about that. The answer is yes, Louise, and Louise. It's hard for me to see. The computer's a little far away. But I was just discussing that. So I do have a digital microscope that I do my fecals on, and it has video out. So I just need to get like a USB capture card to my computer. That way I can narrate, while doing a fecal. And we could even do a fecal live. Although there with my reptiles, it's pretty rare. If I get a rescue, it would be better, because a lot of times you look at I look at the fecals and they're just clear, because I'm not feeding. I'm feeding rodents that are frozen thawed, killing any parasites. I'm not feeding roadkill. I'm feeding bugs that I raise myself. So a lot of times I look through and it's the all clear, and a fecal takes like 30 seconds, but I could voice over it and go for more. But if I get a rescue whose poop smells really bad, that would be a little bit more eventful, because hopefully in that case there would be a lot on there and I could show you, you know, pinworms or hookworms or coccidia. That would be cool. It would be more eventful to say, hey guys, here's a fecal. Oh, but it's clear and I can't show you anything on there. But I would love to do that. I just so you know, I have done live fecals with Patreon members in my Discord, and I've also walked them through. And some of a good amount of actually Patreon members now who are in Discord do their own fecals as well. Really easy procedure once you have the equipment, and the equipment's not expensive either. Sometimes he's a little bugger. Yeah, so like thankfully I don't sometimes he just pees all over his, yeah, thankfully they don't just pee all over anymore, but sometimes they can be little buggers. Like Smog is getting warmer from my body heat. So he's gonna be waking up at more in a little bit. Hey there, good morning, good morning. That would be fantastic to see as a layperson. Yeah, so, if you wanna, I guess let's talk about that a little bit. Um, so these fecals are mostly done by humans, it's not some machine. So there's really no difference that you can't do your own fecals as long as you do the float correctly, which also very easy. But even at the vets and at the lab, yeah, the easiest is with a digital microscope because then you don't have to put your eyes right up to it and look through, the scope and see. You can look on the screen, but either version works. But all that they do and I do is you have your reference material, to one side that shows you what all the different eggs look like and all the different things that you can see. And then literally you're just moving the platform that the slide is on back and forth and up and down, and you're just trying to see if any of that stuff will be there, and it will be very obvious. um, because if you're doing a fecal and your reptile has a problem, it doesn't have one pinworm egg, right? It's going to be infested, so it's going to be littered with what you're looking for. So doing fecals are actually extremely easy. uh, and also knowing when to treat. Okay, so if you do a big fecal and you see maybe one egg throughout the whole thing, it's not really a big deal yet. You could treat it right away, you could wait, but it's quite common on what your reptile is eating that it may have eggs. Maybe they're eating raw chicken, maybe they're doing this, and you don't know if it's a healthy reptile, depending on what you see, the reptile's acids and everything also could be killing those things. So you may be seeing dead eggs, stuff like that. So that's also important when you deworm a reptile. It's very common. Obviously, you had all these parasites in its intestines, and some get pushed out with the fecal, but a lot latch onto the intestines, right? So when you deworm, those are now dead. And so when the reptile takes poop, they get pushed out. So normally you have to wait a little bit after your deworming is done, a couple weeks. So all the dead eggs have been pushed out, and then you do a fecal because then anything left behind after, let's say, a month after you finished your worming, those are still alive, and you can go through another deworming procedure. But it's super easy to do. I just hope if so, what I can do, I can basically maybe even pre-film doing a float, and then if I look on the slide and I see something next time, I can take that beginning footage and then just splice it into whatever reptile I'm doing and show you, hey, this is here and this is here. Uh, but yeah, it's pretty cool actually, and you can do it with like even a cheap hobby microscope that costs like $30. Just knowing what to look for, you can do it quicker because you don't have to keep referencing the reference material. So when you see something you think is, oh, this could be an egg, let me look at the picture of like the 10 different eggs. Oh, oh, he's moving. You just know right away, okay, this is this is that. Sometimes I've read that. Hey there, good morning. Yeah, we talked about that. Blah blah blah. Eric, your channel's so informative. Yo, I'm always sharing your videos to people in case. Yeah, thanks for that, Eric. Again, I'm not sometimes I do funny videos, right? But a lot of the time I'm just trying to help people out. I'm trying to spread uh information. Put your head under here. Trying to help people who may have reptiles, who may be thinking about getting reptiles, who have a reptile with a problem, who are concerned the reptile may have a problem, just making sure people can care for their reptiles correctly. Know that a lot of the stuff is not super hard. You don't have to do months and months and months of research. You just need to know the right stuff. And unfortunately, like I always talk about, there's a lot of bad on the internet, even on YouTube. A lot of people who have never owned a particular reptile who are saying, top 10 reasons to own a black throat monitor. Did you guys ever own a black throat when you made this video? No. Did you ever train a black throat? No. Okay. Where are these facts from? Oh, I read a Google article or I compiled some other people's videos. I mean, how useless. Even if you were to, a lot of people do that. A lot of people make videos from Google information. And even if they have a reptile there on display in their video, It's different if you've bought a baby black throat monitor and then you've owned it for 6 months and then you make a video on why the black throat monitor is really good or why it's really bad. That's also a huge disservice because you need to know what this thing actually becomes, what its temperament is, what it can, what it could do, how yours acts. And then, you do a full video. That's like if you read the first 20 pages of a book, of a 500-page book, and then you write a report on if the book is good or not. Well, you read, 0.2% or whatever, and now you're giving a review. That's really a disservice. You're not reviewing the whole picture, and you don't know. And you don't even know if what you read about on Google is right or not, because there's also the possibility that, let's say, I this was my first black throat I ever owned. This was the only black throat I've ever owned. I'm just giving you a hypothetical, and I've owned him for like 4 years. Okay, now if I do a review on that, can I base this really small sample size and project it out to all black throats? So if I write a review and say black throats are good because smog does this, 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 and this. Okay, well, how do I know? Do all black throats do that, or majority of black throats? Because all is probably not real. Is this a one-off? Is this in the minority? I don't know. So if I write my article on him and tell people that's all about black throats, they might get a black throat that's a wild animal that's crazy. Most black throats may be crazy, and smog's just different. So those that trying to be informative and let people know these, at least for the lizards that I have very small interaction on, this is how my lizard interacts. This is how I got him to interact with this. You're welcome to try the same and see if it works. Now, something that I'm more authoritative on, and more people are, is bearded dragons. I've had hundreds of bearded dragons come through here rescuing in and out. So I've seen the behavior. Let me tell you, it's all different. It's all over the place. The only things that seem to consistently act the same are ball pythons and some other snakes. But if you've had more than one bearded dragon in your life, the first bearded dragon you had could have been amazing, and the second one's a complete butthead. And then the third one acts completely different than the other two. I tell people all the time, I've seen hundreds of bearded dragons. It's very rare that two act completely the same out of that focus group because they have such a personality that they kind of make themselves, they kind of own themselves. So a lot of times that's left out, unfortunately, and people are not that informative. But if you make a crazy video where you're running around with a giant snake and you're scaring people with it, that gets a lot of views. If you make videos where you're getting tail whipped by your black throat, or you're intentionally stressing your animal to get a negative reaction, or you're doing live feedings, just get a lot of views, unfortunately. And then people think that's a good idea to do with their lizard. It's not good. So I try to make more informative videos, and if they get views, they get views. If they don't, they don't. Whatever. Whatever. Okay. I just love it when I see live video of someone else with a monitor. Huh. Yeah, well, I have, quite a few monitors. Sometimes they don't want to sit around. Like Smog's waking up. This is gonna bore him, right? Eventually he's gonna get bored. He's not gonna be mad, he's just bored. So he's gonna have to go away as he's trying to do right now, and I'm kind of just holding him back. Do bearded dragons eyelids shed? Yes, they do. That the whole eyelid does shed. And sometimes you can rub it off for them, but a lot of the times they'll actually close their eyes, but they'll like bulge out their eyes to try to push that shed off. It's extremely soft shed compared to the rest of their body. And because it's extremely soft shed, sometimes it's actually harder for them to get off because the other one are like, crispy potato chips, forbidden chips as people call them, and they can snap off or be rubbed off really easy. That's really soft. What? 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 Go that way. We're going to answer a couple more questions, then I'll put you back. I just wanted people to see you. Yeah, so they do shed their eyelid. It's really soft. A lot of times they'll rub it a lot, and that's when you can cause eye damage. So if you see it, you don't have to peel it, but if you can bring a wet finger and kind of naturally they may close their eyes when you're finger gets close to their eye, and you can kind of rub it off for them. All right, can I just answer a couple more questions for God's sakes? Work with me. Let's see here. Should I deworm once a year since I don't know? So deworming your reptile is extremely safe. Pancure Safeguard, fendobendazole, is extremely safe. You can look up the dosage based on the weight of your lizard, and it's extremely hard to overdose. They've given 10 times the amount and still have no overdosing effects. When you deworm, there's a possibility for some diarrhea, especially if there was a lot of worms. Completely normal, but if you follow the normal dewormer of deworm once a week, the same day for 3 weeks, you're typically good. It's interesting that a lot of people don't naturally deworm their reptiles. I do. I deworm once a year at a minimum, sometimes twice, without even checking fecals, um, because there's no harm. But, you say that and people are like, "Why will you do that?" When you have a dog, you deworm that dog. If you have livestock, if you have chickens, if you've got horses, deworming is a very normal and typically routine procedure for a lot of pets. And people don't do it with their reptiles. I don't know why. You get a really healthy reptile without all that fear. It's just sometimes for our reptiles, we cut corners or it's just not considered normal. A lot of the times you bring your dog to the vet for a yearly checkup. You put them on heartworm medication or an anti-wormer or this and that, and they just don't for the reptile. Who knows? Doing a clear one versus one with parasites. Yeah, it's not as amazing as you think, just so you know, but because they don't look all that different. There's a lot of poop, undigested material, things like that they can't digest, insect legs, and then you see some eggs or you don't see some eggs. Otherwise, they look the exact same. Parasite eggs. Otherwise, they look the exact same. It's sad since I did have two Savannah monitors, but one was shot by a hunter on accident. Since he thought it was wild, released him in the desert. That's fascinating. Good morning. Good morning. Who would not want a reptile versus dog? Tony, it's a good question. I mean, it's a different pet. If you want your dog to really come to you when you call it, and you want it to be really loyal and snuggle with you all the time and soft and furry, or go out for a jog with it, or go to the park on a hiking trail, and you can train it to be really obedient. It's a different thing, right? If you want a cooler looking pet, in my opinion, yeah, it's there, but you're not going to get the same stuff that you would from the dog from a reptile, just like the reptile will give you different things. So, you need to know what you're looking for. Some are better for children than others are. You can train a guard dog, stuff like that. So, it's a difference. Okay, I'm going to put Smog back. He was just here for the beginning. I'm going to put Smog back. I'll grab something else, and then I'm going to power through some questions I got to power through, and then I'll take some questions from you guys uh, as well. Are you ready? We're going home. We're going home. We're going home. We're going home. All right. We're going to throw his arm up here. We're going to pick him up a little bit higher. We're going to support, and here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Uh-huh. Good God. It's freaking heavy, man. Oh, oh hi, Clementine. What did we lose? Thank you so much. I've learned so much from you. You are my only go-to besides my vet. I asked that question because Scooter was acting like she is blind in one eye. So thank you again. Thank you. They also make, but you don't need to use them, but some have antimicrobial stuff. They do make reptile eye drops that are just sometimes good to flush the eye. Reptiles have a hard time cleaning their eyes. Some reptiles, leopard geckos, chameleons, where their tongue can reach their eye, they will lick their eyeball to clear out dust and debris. Some will, when you give them a bath, you'll see them do it. They will put their head under the water, keep their eyes open, and swish it back and forth. They're trying to flush their eyes out. Uh, but you have the ability to just take a couple drops, boop, 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 no harm done. I think they're called like turtle eye drops. They're really good. They have little antimicrobial stuff, but you could use any like saline type solution. You shouldn't use tap water. You can use, because depending on where you are, your tap water could be very dirty. But you can use reverse osmosis water, distilled water, things like that, or the actual reptile eye drops. What? What? You just got here. There's no way you're bored of this. You literally just got here. You haven't pooped today yet because you're still plump from yesterday's dinner. So it was Friday, so it was bug day. So that's what we have here, a pancake. So it's a good question. So I'm going to go, you guys can still ask your questions. I'm going to go over some questions from the month and then we'll pull over, but we've already been cruising for like a half hour here. So we got to get moving. Number one, I get asked all the time, how easy is it to keep a large lizard? So I wouldn't say that its size makes it harder per se, but there are some trade-offs. So like you saw when I had to put Smog back, he's like 40 pounds now. He grips onto me. I grip onto him. He's strong. His claws are naturally very big. So even if he's not trying to scratch you, just by holding you, there's potential to get a big scratch because he's big and powerful. Uh, so you need a larger enclosure. They eat more. They poop a lot more because their poop is so much bigger and whatnot. So, and if you were to get him upset, if he goes to tail whip you, dude, that's gonna hurt. So there are trade-offs. Definitely, the way you treat and keep your small lizard is just scaled up. So it's not that it's more difficult. It's definitely not. It's the same stuff that you're doing here. You're just scaling it for the size. But those are the things you need to think about. If you're one person, can you lift that lizard if you need to? He's a big lizard. Can you overpower him? Smog is very strong. A lot of the weaker people in my family can't put him where he doesn't want to go. So you need to know those things. You need to be able to buy the food. You need to be able to have the space for the tank. When his nails are getting big, you got to be able to clean his nails. You got to have a big bathtub to bathe him or a pool outside. You got to be able to give him exercise and enrichment. So if you live in an area where it's not always nice outside, like winter, well, where do I get him to exercise? In the family room here, right? So then you got to do, and you know what that consists of? Walking from one side to the other, climbing on here, and going to bed. Well, that's why I have to pick him up, move him back to the other side because he'll always be trying to come here to go to bed. So you need to understand those things. If you're fine with committing, where do you think you're going? Just going up there? Are you gonna suicide dive? We'll just watch her. She may just decide to right off. Um, so you need to be ready to commit for those things. And then also, even with dogs, right? There's the potential of being injured by your pet. A dog can bite you, a cat can bite you, a cat can scratch the crap out of you, a bird can bite you, can pierce you with its beak. You see injuries all the time. So you have to be understand that sometimes accidents happen. So, what would happen if you were bit by a really big lizard with a really strong jaw? Things like that's going to cause more harm than probably being bit by a bearded dragon. These are all things you have to weigh. It doesn't make one harder or one worse than the other. You just need to know that you're scaling everything in that relationship, that ownership relationship. That's all right. Um, and I get asked that all the time because people see smog. They see that, oh, I want to keep a black throat. Hey, I want a white throat. I want this, red tegu, male, big. I want a big iguana. Okay. Like, they're not harder, but there are different things you have to do and be careful for. And a lot of people, I don't think, anticipate those. Florida girl says hello, hello, external X84. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Um, and same thing with the large snakes, right? So it's a larger snake harder than keeping a ball python? Is a boa harder than keeping a ball python? No, but they eat a larger rat. Okay, so you're going to spend a little bit more money on the food. They are bigger, so they need an enclosure. So, okay, you need a little bit more space. Um, and then, again, there's the risk. If this thing bites you versus a ball python, what do? It's eventually going to get big and thick and strong. And same thing if you go to a retic or things like this. I don't think there should be naturally anything that shouldn't be a pet. I think you should be allowed to own a tiger and a lion and whatever. But you have to be able to have the space, the money to care for it correctly, and things like that. So there are snakes that I say are not one person snakes. I don't think normal retics and Burmese pythons are one person snakes. Something could happen. Accidents could happen. So oh gosh, oh gosh, what's going on here? So you need to be ready for worst case scenario and best case scenario. So the worst case scenario can happen. You can get bit by a ball python. Not a huge deal. You can get bit by a boa. That's going to hurt a little bit. You can get bit by a 30-foot retic. It's probably going to hurt a lot, right? So keep that in mind. Really love those types of lizards. Lucas, the panda trainer. Do you really train pandas? What a great question. Says hi. I mostly wasted half of my room with snake enclosures and one large container for my yeah. So there there's just differences. So then another question I get asked all the time is, how many reptiles should I have? How many can you keep? And now this is a good question. There's a lot of outcomes here because it's what are you trying to achieve, okay? Are you breeding reptiles? So then you're not going to really have a good bond with them. It's not bad. Let's use ball pythons as an example. So then you'll have a rack system. So you see them when you take them out, when you go to put food in them, but you're not really spending time with them every day. They're kind of just a breeder. Okay, fine. But then what if you do want to spend time with them? So now you know how much time do you have in the day to devote to this? You're going to have larger enclosures. Maybe you could still have rack systems, but you take the snake out on a thing. So just as you get more of something, you're splitting whatever chunk of time that you have to devote. You have to figure out how to split that correctly. Does that mean 5 minutes a day with each one and then you rotate a half hour for each one, right? As you have less, you can spend more individualized time. Does that mean it's a half hour a day, but you have to rotate which days who gets what time? Fine, also good. But one of the easiest ways to tame reptiles and snakes and anyone down over mammals is with a routine. So every day around this time, I take you out of the tank the same way. Like I open the tank, I pet you, I talk to you for 5 minutes, and I'm petting you. And then I pick you up and I hold you the same way. That way, now you're going to feel comfortable with everything. We walk to the same spot. I set you down the same way, and we do the same thing when in that spot. And then I pick you up, I bring you back at the same time. I keep you out for about 30 minutes. And then I bring you back, I put your back the same way, I talk to you for 5 minutes, then I close the tank, and then I leave you alone. Those routines are the best way to get them to feel comfortable. So then once they're completely comfortable with that routine, that's when you can start adding variation to the routine. Hey, I'm just going to open the tank and pick you up. I'm not going to talk to you for 5 minutes. Or hey, I'm going to take you outside, but I'm going to bring you to a slightly different spot. The old spot is still within view and we can still go to it. I'm bringing you to a slightly different spot. So they're just going to become more comfortable with more things. There's a lot of time to that. So that's when you are deciding what your end goal is. Do you want to have that super, tame reptile? It's hard to do with a lot of reptiles, especially if they're larger. So you need to know what you can do. Now, if you have a family and people are going to help you, or if you're a facility and you have a staff, there's more people. So that's a really good thing. My ball python bit me once. I had dropped the mouse and my tongs were too short. Not her fault, but it did hurt. Like a major bloody paper. Yeah, it accidents, right? So just remember always accidents, and always have money set aside because you may need a vet, you may need to buy some medicine, you may need to do this, you may need to do that, but you should have that for any pet, right? And for humans, right? I got money. I may have to go to the hospital. I'm going to have to pay. You try not to live paycheck to paycheck. I accidentally released a snake owned last night. Luckily, he was not the ones that attacked you. Yeah, it's lots of variables, right? But so you need to understand before you just start buying 10 bearded dragons, what is the relationship you want to have with the bearded dragon? What is the relationship you want to have with your snakes? And most would argue that if you have one of something, you can devote as much time as you want to and just focus on that one thing. What's its favorite food? Now I have money to buy its favorite food instead of splitting the food, right? So now I have more free time to spend. Now I can buy all the toys that it likes. Instead of buying five mediocre enclosures, I can take all that price and buy one awesome enclosure. So you need to know where it is because you may be rich enough where you can buy five awesome enclosures. Do you have the space for that? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You know, lots of variables. That's all. Hey, sorry I'm late. All good, X Wolf. We're just kicking through. We're all good. You know what I like when I see 16 people in the stream, but I see 19 likes. So if you haven't liked the stream, like the stream. But that's what I like to see. And remember, if you've got questions or just a comment, you can just spiff them in there. But so that's what I get. Keeping different species of reptiles is another one I get a lot, and that also depends. Not I do it. A lot of people do it. It depends on where in your home or wherever you keep them, where you're going to keep them, because it depends on the environment with how easy is this to do. If you have a lot of dry desert, low humidity creatures, and then you're going to put a tank for a high humidity creature in the same room right next to them, well, now they're fighting each other. Now you've got one you're trying to pump humidity into, which is going to naturally increase the humidity of the room. And now you're increasing the humidity for the ones that don't need it. Or maybe you had a dehumidifier in that room for those other ones. So it is definitely much easier, even if they're not the same species, to keep different reptile species that need the same environment closer together. It makes it a lot easier. If you had a lot of chameleons in their Reptibreeze tanks, the screen tanks, and they all need high humidity. Hey, now we're talking. This might be something easy. Maybe I can put them in a room where I can shut the door and I can naturally keep the humidity of the room up instead of having to focus humidity just on them, or the same thing. So there's some ease that you can do by matching that area. Would I put chameleons right in the same room with like six bearded dragons? And then, no, but you know what could maybe go in the same room? Iguanas that need high humidity and chameleons that need high humidity. And then if I had a turtle tank or any type of freshwater tank that's evaporating, or saltwater that's evaporating humidity into the air, that's not a bad fit either. So just knowing what you're placing and where. Same thing temperature wise. These are all hot things. Cool. I don't want to put something that needs a cooler environment next to something that needs a blazing hot environment because they're going to conflict with each other. How long should a dragon be sitting in its closure for light? How long can it be out? It can be out around the house really indefinitely, especially if there's a spot where it likes to go to heat up. As long as it's not getting too cold, that's all that matters. They know how long they need to bask for. So as long as you've got the proper temperatures and it basks, some days they may bask for 5 minutes. Some days they may be asked for 5 hours. You've got to trust that your healthy lizard knows how long it needs to do certain things. Like this, this would be fine. I would do this all day. If she wanted to sit here 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever. As long as she's not falling, right? Maybe get a little harness. Have you ever had a bearded dragon that buries its poop? Yeah, that's quite fascinating. Sometimes they do. I've seen it a lot actually with bearded dragons that are on paper towel, or they'll poop and they'll kind of shove the paper towel on top of it. I don't know why, but some do. Hi, can I know the formula of the DIY homemade disinfectant you made? I'd have to look. Road Blur, it's probably better if you message me on Instagram. I think I made a video of the chlorhexidine ratio. I just have it written on the side of the gallon. I think it's like 3/4 of a cup of chlorhexidine to half a gallon of water. I'd have to relook though. See, so you want to know why I wrote it down on the thing? I even wrote the fill lines. That way I don't have to measure it every time. Fill chlorhexidine to this line. Like first I put it in there, and then I sharpied the thing. Then I'm like, oh, and then water fill line and sharpened that. And then I did write on it what the ratio is, though. But that way I wouldn't have to remember it. Why is my dragon have to lie right on the vent? That's quite fascinating. It kind of stinks sometimes because they'll when you have them out, you try not to have them right in front of the heating vent. You try not to have them right in front of the air conditioning vent. Sometimes you have to close the vents in the room while they're out. It just seems like sometimes they will be prone to go to the worst place for them. Like you have this nice open room and then you have this nice small little spot. And of course, they're going to try to wedge themselves into it. Hey, I'd have to go now since yeah, that's what they do. Take it easy. I've been watching you for years and still don't know your name. Oh, I'm glad you asked what my name is. It's Animal One Guy. Thanks for asking. The disinfectant is chlorhexidine. Did a video. Yeah. 11 parts total, 10 part. Yeah, 10 to 1. That seems to make sense. Um, so yeah, in terms of keeping your reptiles, if you're going to have multiple, there you go. Another question I get asked all the time uh, is the nails. And I've made a lot of videos on how to keep reptile nails good. Even if they're climbers, we have to help them with their nails. Smog's nails, I do his nails. I do everyone's nails, absolutely everyone's. Even my chameleon, well, when I had chameleons, they were the only ones that sometimes you just had to take the tips off. But sometimes they would grow, and if they curled too much, then they couldn't close their feet because their nails would go into their feet. We do birds. If you have birds, you know that you have to sometimes trim your bird's beak. Sometimes you have to have their nails done. Sometimes with dogs and cats, it's very common to clip a cat's nails. It's very common to clip, well, sometimes Dremel dogs' nails, but sometimes if you have a groomer, normally they do it. Uh, those are common things that need to be done, and it's the same thing with reptiles. They can grow too long, even climbers. And the fact of the matter is, they don't get the exercise as a pet that they do in the wild. So they don't naturally grind their nails down. Even when you let them out and exercise, I can tell you the carpet of my home is not grinding anyone's nails down. Even the hardwood floor, the linoleum floor, tile, it's not grinding the nails down. When we take them outside, do they walk on the cement often? Not really. And if you look in the wild, their nails are not the most healthiest thing ever either. Very common to see missing digits. They degloved themselves, they pulled the nail out. So even if you have an outdoor enclosure, you should know where the proper healthy length of the nail. I see a lot of people with large monitors, black throat monitors, where they'll be like, "This is how he climbs," and you see what is the tip for the black throat. It's not as small as something like this, and it's like this long. And I'm like, that thing should be gone. That's just ready to snap, splinter up the nail, infection. I can't even think about it. That should be cut right off. We do our own nails, so you should be doing nail care. And if you don't know how to do it correctly, because you can hurt your reptile just like you can hurt yourself by cutting the nail too deep, or any animal. I've done videos on it on how to identify where the proper thing is with a lot of diagrams and drawing and showing and being done. But a vet typically can do it as well. So if you're really uncomfortable, find a reptile vet that is more comfortable. Let's see here. Am I? And I'm the one guy is your YouTube channel. What's your? Oh, blah, blah, blah. My poor dragon has gotten some type of fluid behind his eye. I went to the vet for drops for his eye. Yeah, there's Maddie, this is what's very interesting is reptile vets, reptile medication treatment is still very new. Even in areas where you have a good vet, it's still very new. There are common procedures that are getting more out there, spayings and neuterings and amputations, but there's still a lot of procedures that are still I mean, up until 10 years ago, we didn't even a lot of vets, it was not standard to give pain medication to reptiles when doing procedures on them. For a lot of time, we thought they didn't feel pain and things like that. So that's still, 10 years in a medical thing, that's still progressing. A long time, it was considered practice to not deworm your reptile, and it thought having all those parasites were normal. Again, we're still talking within 2 decades, so this stuff's all very it's unfortunate, but the reptile medicine community is still learning a lot. Then you have the problem of reptiles, some of them are very small, so you know any procedure you're doing, now we're talking it's very specialized, so it's it's a pain. A lot of the stuff is still new, it's still being tried. Sucks, right? Because you would think with how advanced we are with all these things, but we're just not there with reptiles yet, unfortunately. How's your sulcata tortoise doing, Mikey? Tortellini is doing just fine. He's sleeping right now, buried underneath his hay. That's what he does. He just buries himself and sleeps. Would you recommend starting a mealworm farm instead of buying them? I've not bred anything that requires it to molt into something else, like superworms molt into these black stink beetles, and then this and that. Uh, Hornworms that turn into the silk moths, and then and this and that. To me, I don't think there's enough value with how cheap that insect is to go through the pain of doing that, especially if you only have one lizard. How much can you really be going through? Even if you had a couple, what did I just do? I just bought, I think, 1,000 super worms to last me months and months, and I think I got them for like $22. So they're just no, there's just too much hassle for me to try to breed that out. But that's me. My dragon is super constipated, no change in diet, no substrate, tried warm bath, pumpkin, rapashi, nothing. She's 18, so maybe she's just trying to, you know, she's super constipated. So she's just eating a lot and there's no change. Pumpkin is good. You can do prunes. You can add some oil to the prune mixture that you syringe feed her. But if it's really a problem, like the urate got too hard and she's not egg bound or whatnot, the vets, again, just varies on your vet, but bearded dragon seems to be the more common procedure. They do enemas on reptiles to get, because typically constipation is brought on by a large urate, some which is typically brought on by too much calcium in the diet, um, and it just hardens and it gets big, and then it's like a plug. So you're trying to give it wet, oily things to soften that. And you're putting your dragon in the bath as well to relieve pressure to try to force that out. Sometimes an enema softens the other side of it and helps them get it out. Yeah. Well, and you don't know if she's really constipated because they can do an ultrasound, they can do an X-ray, and they can see. So, like, if they do an X-ray, they'll see if there's like a giant mass in there, and then they'll try to figure out what it is. And then 18 is pretty old, so surgery at that point to remove it's probably not great. Um, how's Simba? We're gonna have a video on that maybe, uh, but we're not gonna talk about it right now. But good question. Okay, so any other questions as we wrap this up? I went over like the main topics that we got. So if anyone's got any last minute questions, again, can be about any reptile in general. It doesn't have to be about bearded dragons. It can be about snakes, whatever you want. Now's the time to spit that out. Uh, we'll give it a minute. Otherwise, it's Saturday, and gosh, I got so much to do. Saturday is my deep cleaning day for the reptile tanks. So, uh, you know, clean all the glass, the bottoms, etc. My dragon is 5, getting old, but still my baby. Well, your bearded dragon, 5 is not that old. Like, maybe if you want to say, okay, it's like 25% of its life, possibly, but definitely they're always the babies. Even, that's your pet is always the baby. So even when your dragon is 5 or your dragon is 18, they're still your baby. So, you just go on with that. And at a reptile show. Yeah, did you see anything cool at the reptile show? Anything that's normally not there? I mean, typically reptile shows are lots of snakes, lots of bearded dragons, and then feeders. And feeders are rats, frozen mice, bugs. But once in a while, and not just for show, frogs, yeah. Not just for show, like, is anyone selling anything cool? Like, do you have uh any savannas there, any black throats, white throats, any quince monitors, argus monitors? You know, the more what I would say. For getting a dragon for the first time, is 2 years a good life for a first experience? For getting a well, when you're, what do you mean? Like, is your so X will? Are you saying I got my dragon for the first time and it lived to be 2 years old? Baby salves for $15. Yeah, that's some. That's just where they're at. No one wants a Savannah monitor. White throats for 650. Oh, white throats have come down, in price. I just think people are not really willing to spend, $1,000 on a lizard anymore. No, like, honestly, if you get a healthy bearded dragon and you do everything right, it should be living to its late teens. Outside, that's with everything in your control. So outside of like cancer, bad genetics, something that you don't cause, bunch of other warm blooded, there always are. Yeah, there always are. It's funny because it's a reptile expo, and but now they've just been taken over with everything. I mean, yeah, people typically sell enclosures, but I've seen people selling like stuffed animals that they make, and they're just basically just trade shows now where you can sell whatever you want. All right, we're approaching that 1 hour mark, so I'm going to wrap it up here. This is it. Last call. Any questions? Throw it in there. Otherwise, you can see Clementine's just been chilling. She's just been chilling, and she's going to go back, and I'm going to go back. Someone pressed the heart thing because I saw one heart fly up in the chat. I don't know who that was, but good job. Look at that. 16 viewers with 27 likes. That's what I like to see. Oh, there's a couple hearts right there. Now we're really pumping. And just remember, guys, I say it all the time. On any video, the chat doesn't count. But after the live stream gets posted, which gets posted automatically, if you click on the video, leave any comment, even if you just say hi, and leave a thumbs up if you don't on any of my videos and anyone's videos that you like, because it's all about engagement, comments, and like ratio. Can you not rub my neck? Oh, is 2 years old. It doesn't matter. Good question. There's no bonding issue. Sometimes people think, oh, I want to get a baby lizard or baby reptile because then it will really bond with me. You don't have to worry about that. The only difference is if the thing was abused or not really cared for, it could have a little bit of a more of a standoffish disposition to humans or things like that that you'll have to break through. But that can be done, so don't worry about it. And in terms of bonding, if they're older, they can bond with you just as well. There's not like the baby will love you more than starting with a 2-year-old creature. My dream best will be going to his hide and rest in there all day. He has an appetite, and then I feed him. He comes out back, acts normal. We just it. So Papa Genji, is that Genji from Overwatch? Um, it's they just do what they do. So, we've had some people in our Discord for Patreon members. And guys, remember, if you join Patreon, you just have to be active for 1 month and you get to come into the Discord and you can be in the Discord forever. Um, these lizards do what they want when they want. They can stop eating when they want. So, the only thing that we can do as keepers is make sure that we've done everything right. That's pretty much it. Temps are right, food is right, the light is right. And so we just had a bearded dragon for one of the people in Patreon where their bearded dragon just stopped eating for a month. Young bearded dragon, like 6 months old, right? Just stopped eating for a month. Everything was healthy. It didn't poop, obviously, because it wasn't eating. And she was freaking out. And I'm like, no, if your temps and everything are right. And he was awake. He was just chilling. I was like, that's just, they do what they do. And then after a month, he took a huge crap, massive. I mean, just massive. And then now is eating again. Why did he do that? Don't know. That's just what he chose to do. When you're looking for sickness, sickness is normally accompanied by rapid weight loss. Rapid weight loss. So if you're still eating, if it's still pooping, and sometimes you say, oh, they don't bask because it's too hot. You can just make sure it's not too hot, and that's pretty much it. Heidi. You know how many stalkers I already get? I love when I hold Scooter and she puts her paws on my face. Yeah, sometimes. Before I go, I absolutely knew that Simba was double A powered. I knew he was a robot man. Yeah, that's funny. All right, guys, I'm going to be taking off here. Uh, take care. Thanks for coming to the stream at the end of every month. Lots of great questions. If you ever ask questions, the comments in my videos, they just get buried. There's just too many. I can't sort through them. I can't type a reply to them. There's thousands and thousands of questions a day, and it kind of sucks because in the beginning it was so easy to reply to like the 10 comments a day I got and with detailed descriptions. But at least now we can do this. So that's a big deal. So anyways, thank you guys so much. All right. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We're going to get out of here, right, Clementine? Yeah, pissed already. Story of my life. Let's get out of here.